y'all, it's Nat. Welcome to the start of another weekly reading vlog, and we are also continuing on with the Dungeons and Book Dragons Readathon. This is a month-long competitive readathon that's taking place in November. I'm actually helping to host. I am one of the leaders for the Rogues team, and I'm having so much fun with this. I really gotta say, Ivy, who spearheaded this, did an amazing job of making this like one of the most immersive readathons I've ever been a part of. There are so many elements to it that really make it feel more true to D&D. It's great. I'm really enjoying it. So I was so excited whenever Quest 4 dropped because we needed to read a book that was either intense stakes or had high tension. And honestly, none of the books I was currently in the middle of reading, I didn't really feel like they fit for it. But I ended up just kind of thumbing through what I had on my Kobo and realized Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy would definitely work for this. And after reading Mary by Nat Cassidy in September and really enjoying it, I've already been gearing up to try out some more of his stuff. So this is a little horror novella where we are following Abe, who is traveling to go visit his grandmother, who unfortunately just recently suffered from a stroke, and ends up at a rest stop trapped in the bathroom at this gas station. And things kind of evolve from there. I really don't want to give too much more of a synopsis because that's all you need to know going into this, but I really enjoyed it. It definitely fulfilled the high stakes, high tension for the prompt. Honestly, from the content warnings, I knew I was going to enjoy this because it mentions religious trauma. And off of that, I would also say like generational trauma definitely plays a important role in the story as well. The fight for survival. Abe is Jewish, and so there's a lot of elements in his character that call back on the relationship with his grandmother who grew up in Poland during Nazi-occupied Germany, how the experiences she had ended up impacting her, and how that has impacted her children and her grandchildren, the relationship she has with them. And so off of that, also like the relationship that Abe has with his faith and with his culture. I really liked all of those elements, and I thought they played into the story very well. There's also some bug horror, which I haven't read a lot of, but after reading this one, I definitely think it's one of those that's very shiver-inducing. There's also one scene in this. I always say, like, I know a horror book is good if there is some particularly gory scene that I read and know is going to stick with me, and there was definitely one of those here. It's just going to live rent-free up in my head forever. I do kind of wish there was a little bit of expansion at the end, kind of one of those issues that comes with this being a novella. And then honestly, I do wish we would have deep dived a little bit more into the themes that we're working here, especially with Abe's character. But across the board, really liked it. I read a fair amount of it yesterday morning, and then while we were driving down and back from the Renaissance Fair, they had their final day for the fall fair that they did this year, and it was so much fun. We ended up going with my in-laws, and it was their first time, so we got to share some of the elements we really enjoy about the fair. Just had a good time overall. Really hoping they bring it back next year. But I officially closed out Rest Stop this morning, and now that means I can dive into side quests, and I'm dragging through some of the books I'm reading right now. Working on A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reed. I think this is now the third quest that this book has been ongoing in the middle of. I'm at about the halfway point, and whilst I'm enjoying the character elements of this book, but it does not feel like there's actually much of a plot, if I'm being honest. And what plot is there? It's treading the same path that we did in the first book, just through a different character's perspective. And I'm not really loving it, unfortunately. But I do believe this would fulfill side prompt 8, which is to read a book where someone is being haunted or hunted. I can't really get into too many specifics about that because of spoilers. I do think it would work for that, and I'm really hoping I will finish it this week. I have the audiobook now, and I'm going to kind of crank through it a little bit faster, which is a shame, but I do love the writing in it at the very least. But overall, today has honestly been just a really productive Sunday. I've gotten a lot of editing done. Josh and I just got back from taking Faith on a walk, and I've already completed my first 45 minutes of reading for my 75 booked challenge, which I'm partaking in. If you haven't seen that, it's a reading challenge I am doing right now, and I have a shorts playlist that I'll link in the cards up above. Pretty solid overall today, and I'm really hoping I can crank through some books this week. I also have my romance book club on Wednesday, and I haven't even mentioned the book I'm supposed to be reading for that. Yikes. So hey y'all, happy Monday. So honestly, we were not off to a strong start to the day. I slept terribly last night. My joints were killing me. I was consistently overheating. However, at the very least, majority of my day has been fairly productive, and I have actually made a fair amount of reading progress, so that's something. I officially started in this morning to The Princess Stakes by Amelie Howard. This is going to be hopefully fulfilling side prompt 7. I don't remember exactly what it is, but like cute or fiery or something to that effect. So romance works. And I need to read this for my romance book club, which is meeting on Wednesday. Let's see if I finish it. So in this one, we are following Princess 𝗖cie, who is the daughter of a Maharaja. And at the start of this book, unfortunately, she has just found her father's body and believes a coup is taking place. So she knows if she stays, she's doomed. Ends up running away and stowing away on a ship headed for London. Come to find out, the captain of said ship is actually her childhood first love. And unfortunately, due to the complicated situation of her father being a Maharaja and Ryston being the third in line for dukedom, basically a marriage was not anticipated to happen. She was promised to, I want to say, an earl, and because of her duty, she did agree to this, but basically just kept putting it off for like the last 5 years, never officially married him. So now things are insanely tense between these two, not only because she's still away, she is not supposed to be there, but also because she jilted him and he is heartbroken. Whenever he received this news, he ended up sending her this absolutely devastating, burning letter that was just filled with all kinds of hate. There's a ton of tension going on right now. And along with that is just this immediate sexual tension, and it's delicious. Like, I'm really enjoying this so far. I was listening to the audiobook and kind of had to put it on pause because it was just really, like, nothing especially spicy has happened, but there is so much steam already. It's like blowing on my ears. I couldn't continue reading this while I was at work. I'm hoping to try and read it physically tonight, but on my lunch break, I did try to make some more progress in A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reed. Yeah, this was one of those weird ones where, like, I did finish this book. I read 75% full-on reading, and then I hit the point where I just couldn't take it anymore and basically skim read the rest of it. Very, very unfortunate. It just did not go great for me. I just spent like 15 minutes ranting about it for my 5-star series continuation video, which should already be posted. So I'm going to put a link to that in the cards if you want to hear a full-out rant on this, but it did not really go and do what I was hoping it would. I'm very sad about that. That said, though, at the very least, managed to complete a prompt. That's something. I just chopped off some of the pages for it. So really, it looks like I'm going to be trying to focus on finishing The Princess Stakes right now. I don't have anything else lined up. We'll see how the audiobook continues to go with this and if it stays this steamy. If it does, I may have to pick up a different audiobook to fulfill some other prompt, but we haven't hit that point yet. We'll find out. Why, good evening, friends. A happy Tuesday. It was honestly quite a Tuesday. Work wasn't terrible. It was just like busy enough to keep me from getting bored throughout the day. I'm also on my worst day of my period, so that's fun. However, I did get to take a nice long walk with Josh and Faith. That was great. At least got some movement going. Had a pretty tasty dinner. Finished another arc of One Piece because we have officially started into watching that. And yes, I am enjoying it. I know it's quite an undertaking, but I'm enjoying it if nothing else. I did make some progress into my book that I'm reading, The Princess Stakes by Amelie Howard. I don't know how much I really got read, but I did make a good dent into this on my lunch break, and I am continuing to enjoy it. It does still just have this constant tension between the two main characters. I don't really know if I'm super sold on these two still being in love. It is very clear to me that they have a history. I feel like that is very evident in the interactions that they have. There is this inherent intimacy in certain moments, but because of the anger and the resentment that underlies so many of their interactions, it just kind of feels like it's almost upping the stakes every time they interact, and I'm loving it. It's so much fun. I also really appreciate the fact that 𝗖cie is actually working with the crew. Though she wasn't really given much of a choice, she's kind of taken this as her job and she is going to do it no matter what. It doesn't matter what her station is. She isn't letting anybody treat her any differently or because of her gender. There was a great moment where some of the crew members were trying to attack her and she was able to stand up for herself. But I did appreciate the fact that the hero, Rhyston, I do not like these RHY names. I really like that Rhyston didn't like immediately overtake the situation. He kind of took a step back and knew she could handle this and didn't really insert himself until he was genuinely concerned for her safety. But even then, she still had it covered. Like, she still was on top of the situation. It just didn't immediately look that way. And I really, really liked that. At the point I stopped, they just had their first kiss. So I am rip roaring ready to go for some of that tension to officially break. And I'm actually planning to lay out here, get some more reading in. My book club for this is tomorrow. And I'm currently only 30% in. So will I finish it? Chances are probably not. But I'm still going to do my best. We'll see how this goes. Hey y'all, so I think the last time I talked to you was Tuesday night. So it's Thursday, it's been a minute. I have actually gotten a fair amount of reading done. Unfortunately, I didn't quite finish out the Princess Stakes in time for my romance book club, but I did finish it in time to count it for the side quest I had lined up. I want to say it was side quest 7, but all in all, I did enjoy this one. I think it was cute, it was fun. I liked 𝗖cie as a main character, especially because she was very strong, hard-headed. She was really willing to save herself kind of thing, but also looked out for the people around her, the people she cared about. Rhyston, on the other side, fine hero. I didn't feel particularly strongly about him. I've read worse historical romance heroes, but I've also read better. And I think kind of going along with the lack of characterization of Rhyston comes the problem that I wasn't super sold on the romance here. Definitely was convinced that these two had feelings for each other. I think the author also did a really solid job of convincing me that they had had a prior relationship, but I wanted a little bit more when it came to actual romantic moments between the two of them. It's a lot of reading between the lines, and while I do like that, given the fact that in their actual interactions, so many of them, they're being kind of mean to each other, I would have wished we had some actual romantic declarations here or there. So again, not really sold on love. It wasn't necessarily too lust forward, but lust was definitely an important element in this relationship. And I will say, this author does write spice very well. I did see somebody negatively review this saying it was straight up erotica. I would not say that. Like, yes, there is a fair amount of spice in it, but it is not like spice focused only. There is some actual plot going on. I did enjoy that. Unfortunately, what with this having a BIPOC main character and then being set in London during this time period, it's honestly kind of hard for the story to not have a white savior feel to it. I think it's one of those where it's like, if you're gonna have this sort of a setup in this sort of a time period, unfortunately, it kind of is just gonna go with the territory. I think if perhaps this was set in India for the entire timeline, that probably wouldn't have been there. And I also think the author did her best to try and showcase that 𝗖cie was not a helpless victim. She wasn't a damsel in distress. She really did try to save herself, but purely due to who she was, her race, unfortunately, she was not going to be able to purely save herself. If Rhyston was not involved, like, things would not have ended as happily as they did. And so it's kind of like a double-edged sword there, where I'm not necessarily holding it against the book because of the time period, but I definitely also can see the criticism of it. All in all, though, I still had a really good time with this one. It was just a fun read across the board, and I'm definitely going to try out more of this author in the future, and not just because I do already own a different book by her. So as I said, I finished that one out for the side quest, and then last night, the 5th main quest officially dropped, and I don't remember what the prompt was exactly. I'll pop it up here, but basically it kind of boils down to like a book where the setting is around like a shop or a store or a market or something like that. And honestly, nothing I had laid out on my November TBR really worked for this. The most obvious one that I could see, and I already owned a copy, was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Figured I would go ahead and try. I already own this, may as well attempt. And y'all, I got like 3 chapters in and was already bored. I am not really a cozy fantasy person. I have figured out that I like cozy sci-fi more. Actually, I probably should read some more cozy sci-fi to see if that's true across the board or if it's just Becky Chambers. It's a little silly. Like, the setup, we follow this librarian. The city she lives in is at war and like actively burning. And her focus is on, oh my gosh, let's save the books and it's so cute and kitschy, right? But like, oh my God, dude, you are literally going to die. Like, leave. And I get it. It's cozy. It's not supposed to feel high stakes, but I immediately was having a hard time taking it seriously because of that. I also just don't really like the voice of the main character thus far. It's a little grating, and it goes with the cozy thing. It's very much ignoring like the world outside of her current bubble and like anything more serious taking place, and that's just not something I really tend to go towards. Like I said, I got 3 chapters in and was already bored. We do technically have a card that allows us to basically autocomplete a main quest, but we do not get the points for it if we use it. And I've been holding off on it because I didn't want to do that. I want to get the points for my team, but I am actually considering using it this time around because I don't know if I'm gonna actually be able to read something for this. I went ahead and put that one on pause, and I was kind of in a true crime mood, so I found an easy audiobook I could dive into and have now started on oh God, I don't even remember what it's called, but I'll pop it up here. But basically, every chapter is diving into the true crime case that different horror or thriller movies are based on. And that is so cool. I'm really liking it thus far. 1 or 2 I've not heard of beforehand. I've known the true crime case, but I didn't realize there was a film based on it, or I've heard of the film, but I didn't know it was based on an actual true crime case. So I am really enjoying it. And this would work for, I think it's like side quest 2 that's revolving around something crime related. I still have not decided if I'm going to try to push through the spell shop some more or if I am going to DNF this and use that card. We'll find out. But honestly, I probably won't get too much more reading done tonight because I'm actually going to be going over to my brother's here soon. I wanted to give y'all an update because it's been a day or so since I've talked to you. Also, I got bangs. That's another new development. Hey y'all, so officially closing up this vlog today. I haven't really gotten too much more read, honestly. I did reach about 60% into Behind the Horror by Lee Muller. This was the horror true crime novel that I picked up on audio, and I am continuing to really enjoy it. Very interesting just across the board. And now we've had a few instances where the cases are based on like paranormal situations, and I actually really like how they're presenting them, where initially it is really based on all of the events that have been told by these victims, but later it kind of deep dives into some of the surrounding elements that have caused some questions to raise about these situations. I still haven't really made a decision on the spell shop, if I'm being honest. Maybe I'll try again when I'm in a better mood for cozy fantasy, but I'm just not really in the mood for this, which unfortunately is also kind of being a kick in the teeth for the other book that I started recently, which was When the Moon Held the Tide by Vanessa Vita Kelly, I believe it is. And this is actually my Geek Squad pick for the book club that I host over on my Patreon. It is also kind of a cozier, easygoing fantasy, but it has this historical element where we are set in, I believe, 1910s New York. We're following Benny, I believe is his name, who is a metal worker and gets commissioned to try and build this giant iron tank for a sideshow business that actually works at Coney Island. They are going to catch a siren or a merman and house it in the tank. It's kind of a play on like Little Mermaid, The Shape of Water. Found out actually, apparently this was initially Simon Snow fan fiction, which I believe Simon Snow is in itself like Harry Potter fan fiction, so it's Inception across the board. That's very amusing. I've gotten about 10% into that one so far, and like I said, it's also just unfortunately not really hooking me in. I'm not really in the mood for something cozy right now. It is cool that there's art pieces in this, and it's also my book club pick, so I do need to just kind of continue reading it. I think I will like it, but the writing style is a little funky so far. I'll see how that goes. So unfortunately, I have not officially finished anything yet for this current quest. It closes out on Monday and it's Saturday night, so I really do need to try and double down on that, and I think I will be using my card to officially skip the main quest 4 prompt because I don't think something cozy like this is really going to happen in a timely manner for me, especially when I'm so far through Behind the Horror and that I could count for a side quest. Like, I'd rather try and get it counted for a side quest and get some amount of points. But on that note, that's officially it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let's leave some sort of a plant emoji in the comments for the talking spider plant in the spell shop, which I still have so many questions. How does he talk? He doesn't have a mouth. I have links to all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me down in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!